Okay.
Okay, thank you. And sorry for the delay. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I can see pretty much everybody is getting on. And if we miss somebody, please let us know when you come on. Good afternoon. I am Rebecca Sander and serve as chair of the Practice Committee of the Kansas State Board of Nursing. I ask the members of the Practice Committee to respond to a roll call to show their presence at this open meeting being held remotely by Zoom and YouTube. Melissa Oropesa.
Here.
Lori Owen.
Here.
Jeannie Gerstenkorn. Sharon Morris, and she has an excused absence. Zui Holloman.
Here.
Amy Wren.
Present.
Tawny Sandifer. I also, Tawny's here, great. Jeannie Gerstenkorn. Okay, I also asked the following staff members to signify their attendance. Linda Davies, practice specialist.
Present.
And who's here? Who's replacing Victoria today?
Jill.
That would
Oh,
be
Jill.
yeah.
Yay, Jill Simons, very good. Thank you, Jill. Public comments allows individuals to address the practice committee about their concerns, but the Kansas Open Meetings Act, which is known as KOMA, does not require the committee to provide public comment or answer questions from individuals. Public comment will not be taken today because there is the possibility that the connection for the remote meeting may be lost over time, and the time for the meeting may not allow everyone who is present to comment. Additionally, we will not know what comments an individual may make, and we would want to provide notice to the public of our intent to discuss a particular matter so that the public may listen and observe our discussion. Because we are conducting the public meeting remotely by Zoom and YouTube, I state for the record the following information. On June the 13th, 2022, the board sent notice of the meeting for the practice committee to all individuals who have requested notice of the committee's meetings. Additionally, the notice and agenda were posted on the board's website, ksbn.kansas.gov. You may obtain a copy of the notice and agenda at that website or by sending an email to Kara Moreland at ks.gov with the subject line request for the agenda, and the board staff will send it to you. The notice contains the internet links to access the meeting by Zoom and YouTube. The notice also contains a Zoom telephone number to attend this meeting by telephone call. Each of these electronic mediums allows the public to attend this meeting free of charge. The notice also advises individuals to contact the board's office at 785-296-2967 if they experience any technical issues during the meeting. The only mediums for interactive communication offered for this meeting are the connections by Zoom and YouTube, as previously stated. Each member of the committee, board staff, or presenter shall state the person's name and title each time the person speaks or votes, as the case may be. Each participant to this meeting shall ensure microphones, phones, or other electronic devices are on mute when the participant is not speaking. Each motion will be clearly stated before the committee votes, and the chair will announce the results of the final vote. A statement or motion will clearly identify and authorize by delegation each member of the committee or staff who will be permitted to sign any document on behalf of the committee. The meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the board's website. The committee has the following items listed on its agenda: call to order, review of on-site packet, additions or revisions to agenda, announcements, approval of minutes for the meeting held in March 29th, 2022, unfinished business, new business, agenda for committee meeting September 2022, adjournment. Although the agenda does not include an executive session, if the committee elects to exercise the option to go into executive session, the committee will follow this process. First, the committee must be in an open session before going into an executive session. Then a motion will be made and seconded. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, the motion must contain the statement of justification for closure, the subject to be discussed, and the time and place that the open meeting will resume. If a motion for executive session passes, public will be excluded from this portion of the meeting, as the executive session will be conducted by electronic means that will not be made available to the public. The committee members will return to the open meeting after the executive session. The open meeting will resume when the committee members return to the Zoom and YouTube meeting after the executive session. The complete motion for an executive session will be recorded in the minutes. The meeting is now called to order and the committee will now consider the next item on its agenda. Just to go back and make sure that somebody is just signed on. Is Jeannie Gerstenkorn signed in? Okay. Our agenda the next item on our agenda is review of the on-site packet. Linda, is there anything in that packet?
Madam
today?
Chair, it's Linda Davies, the practice specialist. There is no on-site packet.
Okay. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to announcements.
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies again, practice specialist. I don't have anything to announce.
Okay. So we'll move on to the approval of minutes for March the 29th, 2022.
And Madam Chair, I do have a motion to read when you're ready for that.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any corrections or additions that anybody's noted? Well, hearing none, Joe will have you go ahead and read the motion for the approval of the minutes.
Okay. Is there a committee member who would like to make the following motion? I move to approve the minutes from the March 29, 2022 practice committee meeting as written.
This is Melissa Orpeza. I so move.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there a second?
This is Lori Owen, board member. I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any
Yes.
opposed? Say no. Okay, motion's carried. So we'll move on to unfinished business. We have the 5-year legislative review, and that would be the KAR 60-7-105, the licensed mental health tech standards of practice. And we were reviewing old language in that. So is there any discussion regarding some of the language in that? Did anybody have time to look some things up? Although
Madam
I did,
Chair,
go ahead.
This is Melissa. I had actually reached out to a few advanced practice that I knew that worked in mental health facilities. Unfortunately, they didn't work with licensed mental health techs, so they really couldn't help me with the wording. However, I unfortunately did not come back with anything specific.
But you know what, it just dawned on me too after I was doing the same thing, Melissa. We no longer have mental retardation settings in Kansas per se. You know, a lot of the mental health hospitals have been closed, and it seems like they're kind of merging them together. And mostly I looked up the hospital psychiatric facilities in Kansas, psychiatric mental health facilities in Kansas, and the ones that we do currently have, they talk about themselves as a psychiatric / mental health facility and have no verbiage whatsoever in there about mental retardation or whatever some of the older words for that word was. So it made me think maybe we need to remove that because our facilities in Kansas no longer specifically state that in their function and mission statements. It's just psychiatric / mental health. Has anybody else noted that? Just it kind of dawned on me. We have Parsons State Hospital, and there's Larned State Hospital, and then there's some other psychiatric facilities too, splattered around the state. But nobody has mental retardation. That's an old word for that. But they really don't have that specifically talked about. It's more psychiatric / mental health as a general topic. So, and then I'm not sure about the coursework, but I'm not sure if the coursework includes those words in the coursework for licensed mental health tech either. Does anybody, go ahead, Carol. I'm not sure what the curriculum is, how it's set up exactly.
Okay, well, I just want to draw your attention in 654202, which is the definitions for the licensed mental health. It says the practice of mental health technology means the performance under the direction of a physician licensed to practice medicine and surgery or registered professional nurse of services in caring for and treatment of the mentally ill, emotionally disturbed, or people with intellectual disability for compensation or personal profit. And then it kind of goes on underneath there to, talk a little bit more, but that would be your definition of the practice.
Well, there's the word intellectual disability in the definition. I didn't even think about reading the definitions. Thank you, Carol. I didn't think about doing that.
Welcome.
I wonder if we should use intellectual disabilities then, since it's in the definition.
Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies, practice specialist. I just did a Google search and it's intellectual disability is the recognized term currently from the National Disability Authority. So it kind of goes with what Carol just indicated as well.
So it would be psychiatric mental retardation. So how would we wordsmith that to make it current and take out the mental retardation word, which is just not very nice to have in there. Psychiatric mental health. Anybody good at wordsmithing out there that we could kind of smooth all this together? Just make it read so professionally.
Could we use as the definition that Carol said and just put that all in there? Sorry, Carol, I didn't write down what you said.
No, that's okay. Basically what I said is the practice of mental health technology means the performance under the direction of a physician licensed to practice medicine and surgery or registered professional nurse of services in caring for and treatment of the mentally ill, emotionally disturbed, or people with intellectual disability.
Those three. I mean, would that be too much? Functions primarily in those three and shall not be substituted for registered or LPNs and adult care facilities? Would that be okay? Or is that too much?
Function primarily in a blank, 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 blank setting. Because it's talking about the setting and not the practice. And so I'm just kind of talking out loud. That's why when I was reading these facilities in Kansas, I was reading their descriptions. They really didn't address intellectual disabilities, but I didn't read it in depth. I just kind of skimmed because I was kind of curious if they used any reference to, the old mental retardation institutions that we used to have years and years ago for the mentally retarded. We had those kind of facilities in Kansas. Psychiatric, mentally ill, or less we say in those with that within primarily in a facility treating the mentally
ill, emotionally disturbed.
There we go. Treating, that would fix it, wouldn't it? Would that make it sound professional? Functions primarily in a facility that treats, is that what we want to say? That provides services. Maybe sounds better. that provides service for the mentally ill, emotionally disturbed, and those with intellectual disabilities or something. Just guessing.
No, that's good. I think as long as we get rid of the psychiatric retardation.
I know. I agree with
bonuses.
that. I know. That is such a cool word. See that I like it has been revised since 1975. So I like this new way we're saying it. It's very smooth and professional and sounds so much better. Okay, Carol, did you get that down so you could read it back to us? So we
I
can
think so. Function primarily in a facility that provides services to the mentally ill, emotionally disturbed, or people with intellectual disability. Is that what you wanted to say?
I like it.
Okay, because I can, what I can do in September is rework this reg and then bring it back
Okay.
so you can see it.
So that really matches the definition too, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, it does.
I like that much better. It just seems like it fits in the statutes better for licensed mental health because it matches even the definition. Okay, well,
So are we gonna need to, this is Jill, are we gonna need to make a motion that says, I move to approve KAR 60-7-105 with the following changes, and then whatever it was that you said, Carol?
Well, that,
Or
or
does
we
that need
could,
to just wait until September?
I would say I will bring back a revision for everyone to look at in September because before the revision could go forward in the approval, the board's going to have to approve it to move forward.
Okay,
So they're really going to have to see it before.
okay,
well,
that makes,
yeah,
okay,
that's true. That makes
sense, okay,
That's what I would suggest.
okay.
okay. So that will be an agenda item for September. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and it does make sense. Very good. Thank you, Carol, for helping us out. Okay, the next item on unfinished business is the RNLPN scope of practice components of a nursing comparison chart. And I think that would be Linda.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Linda Davies, practice specialist. Unfortunately, with staff turnover and assuming extra duties this past quarter, I have not had time to work on this chart, and I apologize. It's been kind of a crazy time. I do hope to have something though for the September meeting. So
Sounds great. Thank you, Linda. So we'll move on to new business, practice questions. That would be Linda again.
yes, that is me as well. So we've been compiling data to kind of show volume and types of calls received. Because I think Melissa had asked before kind of what kind of calls and how many are we getting. So for the month of May, when there was about 20 or 21 days, because there's somebody had vacation day too. So, and then there was a holiday. We got 67 calls and 16 emails. And that doesn't account for the number of return call attempts because caller ID from a state phone number usually shows up as spam or a 000. So you get to play phone tag sometimes with the person you're trying to get in touch with. Emails also can then, once you respond, they usually result in more questions. And so you dive down and try to get to what their specific question is. Takes time. All responses, though, do include the language that the legal counsel has advised that we state KSB and staff are not licensed attorneys. We do not give legal advice. It's nothing that we say can bind the board. All responses also, we direct them to consult their own legal counsel at their own expense should they choose to do so. Most of the calls too that are coming in are APRNs, RNs, LPNs, and facilities, but the volume is specifically from RNs and then facilities. So we found that kind of interesting. We're also seeing an uptake in LLC applications and questions regarding nurses from LPN, RN, APRN, all wanting to start their own LLC, and we have to send them back to their attorney to make sure they set up their practice according to whatever statutes and things they need to follow for their own business. So it's been an interesting time. So
Just out of curiosity, what were the topics of those questions, or were they just all over the board?
the topics range mostly with like they're wanting to do their own Botox, med spas. Those are a hot topic and there's really nothing, in the Nurse Practice Act that says anything that relates to any of this. And so since it goes with like the LLC and corporation things, then, we're referring them to attorneys. We've had some tell us, well, I have consulted an attorney and they told me to call you. Well, so we're sending them back and telling them your attorney needs to do their research. And advise you. You're paying for them to give you advice. So it's been it's frustrating at times that we just, I think Melissa just had asked what our volume was. So those are mostly what they concern.
That's interesting. Are you going to continue to kind of keep notice of the volume just because, that the APRN bill that just passed, I wonder if that might influence the volume of questions to the board.
Yeah, we did get a lot more calls from the APRNs wanting us to explain what the bill meant. And, Carol's, been great about giving us updates. And we just told them, you need to wait until it's all finalized and there will be something coming out in the newsletter. There will be something coming out from our exec. So, just wait for those things because, she was getting clarification, I believe, too, on what it all meant and how to relay that information to the APRNs who were affected. So, now that we have all of those things and we're waiting for the July 1st, start date too, then, we'll at least have those things to go off of and make sure we give a consistent message. So.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Linda. Does anybody else have any questions for Linda? Okay, the next one under new business was the Nurse Honor Guard. And I think Linda's going to give us a little update on that idea.
Yeah, Madam Chair, it's Linda Davies again, practice specialist. I put something in your packet. It was an interesting inquiry that we got, kind of like a practice call, but it was about a Kansas nurse had passed away. And so her family, who one is a nurse in Nebraska, was asking if Kansas had some sort of like that Nurse Honor Guard in Kansas. I honestly have never heard of this. And so I a little searching to kind of see, I don't know that Kansas does have anything like this. I just brought it just for, your information only. I think this is specifically run through like a nonprofit or 501c3 organization. So I'm going to forward it on to KSNA unless there's some other organizations that the committee knows about, or if anybody knows of this that's already occurring in Kansas, if you let me know so I can kind of reach back out to this person who was asking about it. It's just a discussion to you only. So.
That is impressive because I have attended a couple funerals. It's been about 15 years ago where the nurse was honored by another nurse during the funeral ceremony. And it was really neat. I have seen that. And I do know of some areas that have retired nurses clubs. I don't know what they call themselves, but I think they have sometimes, taken it upon themselves too to pay attention when a nurse dies to honor them. But this would be really neat. I think the idea is great to honor our nurses who have died. It's really a neat idea. Well, I hope they are interested because I think that's really neat to be honored. I think all of us want to be honored for our hard work at the time at our funeral. That would be so nice. It was just a little rose. It was a very impressive, and a nurse in white. Of course, she was dressed in white, so everybody kind of matched. Though she's a nurse, she used to be a nurse. They matched that up, and it was really neat. Okay, no further comments, and we'll move on. We have the agenda items for the September 2022 meeting. Are there any other besides the KSA 60-7-105, which we're bringing back? Are there any others anybody can think of? None? Right. Well, hearing none, then we'll move on to adjournment. And we don't need a motion for that. So we'll just go ahead and wind her up for the day. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the late start. But we did it and we made it. So we'll see everybody again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Carol.